Welcome to The Explainer. For a lot of us, the second you hear those first few notes of the Home Alone score, boom, you're instantly hit with that cozy holiday feeling. It's a total classic, right? A must-watch every year. But what if I told you this beloved comedy isn't really what we think it is?
All right, let's really get into it. The analysis we're digging into today argues something pretty wild. It says that when you watch this movie again, as an adult, it's telling a completely different story, a much, much darker one. The argument is that Home Alone isn't just a comedy, it's this powerful American myth about what it's like to be an invisible child and that child's desperate quest for power.
Okay, first up, the invisible child's wish. To really get this, we've got to start with Kevin McCallister himself. But we're not going to look at him as just the cute, clever kid who booby-traps his house. No, we need to see him the way this analysis does, as the invisible child.
Think back to the beginning of the movie. It's just pure chaos, right? And if you really watch, you see Kevin's problem isn't that he's about to be left alone. His problem is that he's already alone, just in a house packed with people. He gets scolded, belittled, told he's too little. He's just background noise. Anything he wants or feels, it's completely dismissed. He's basically a ghost in his own family.
So when he finally screams, "I wish my family would disappear," this is the key. It's not just a kid having a tantrum. The analysis we're looking at calls this a dangerous but honest wish. It's this raw, unfiltered scream from deep down, from a kid who feels totally unseen. And the film, well, it doesn't pull any punches. Because the next morning, poof, they're gone.
Now this is where things get really weird, where the movie just completely breaks from what you'd expect. I mean, think about it. A little kid wakes up to an empty house. He should be freaking out, right? Crying, panicking, calling for his mom. But Kevin? Nope. And his reaction? That's what unlocks the entire fantasy of this film.
Right, our next section, power, freedom, and consumption. This is where the story takes a massive turn. See, this isn't a survival story. Not at all. It's a power story. Kevin doesn't just, get by. He thrives. He embraces being alone. For the very first time in his life, he's the one in charge.
So let's just break this down. In a normal story, a kid left alone would panic. They'd feel totally helpless. It's a survival story. But in Home Alone, the kid is relieved. He feels powerful. It's a story of control. His first reaction isn't fear, it's pure joy. He's jumping on the bed, scarfing down junk food, watching mobster movies, everything he wasn't allowed to do. The movie is basically screaming that being alone isn't a tragedy, it's liberation.
And here is the core fantasy of the entire movie, laid bare. It's this incredibly powerful idea that if you are alone, you will become powerful. Being alone isn't a weakness. It's actually the source of your strength. But, and this is a huge but, this only works because the movie just hits pause on the rules of the real world. Consequences? They don't exist in Kevin's world.
So how does the movie actually define this amazing new independence Kevin has? Is it about him, learning about himself, growing emotionally? Not really. His freedom is almost entirely defined by stuff, by consumption. He goes shopping, he buys junk food, he watches forbidden movies, and of course he turns his toys into weapons. It's all about what he can buy and what he can use.
And that brings us to this really interesting and kind of surprising underlying message. According to this analysis, what the film is really saying is that independence equals purchasing power. Think about it. Kevin is only free and powerful because he has his dad's cash and lives in this massive suburban house that's just loaded with resources. His cleverness is great, sure, but it only works because he's operating from inside this fortress of American prosperity.
Okay, let's talk about the price of all this. Section 3, the cartoon price of victory. So Kevin has his kingdom now, right? But a king has to defend his castle. And for his victory to feel, fun, the world has to play by his rules. And that's where Harry and Marv, the wet bandits, come in. They aren't just villains, they're basically human test dummies for Kevin's power.
So how does the movie make us cheer for a little kid brutally assaulting two grown men? Well, it dehumanizes them. It's a simple three-step process, really. First, they can't feel any real pain. Second, they learn absolutely nothing from their mistakes. And third, they basically can't die. They are, for all intents and purposes, live-action cartoon characters.
And, let's just be real for a second. The stuff Kevin does, it's not just pranks. Bricks to the head, a blowtorch to the scalp, an iron dropped on someone's face. Any one of these things would be fatal, or at the very least, horrific, in the real world. But the movie plays it all for laughs,
like we're watching Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. It's totally sanitized.
And this really gets to the core of the film's dark logic. A child can only win when ethics are suspended and the enemy is dehumanized. That's it, right there. Kevin's win is only possible because the normal rules of morality and, physics are just gone. We can cheer for him because the movie constantly tells us, don't worry, these guys aren't real people, they're just punching bags.
So this fight becomes about way more than just stopping a robbery. That house, it's not just a house, it's a symbol. With all its Christmas lights and decorations and just stuff, it's a perfect little fortress of the American dream. And Harry and Marv, they aren't just burglars, they're invaders threatening that dream. So Kevin isn't just a kid protecting his home, he's framed as a patriot defending his country, and all his violence is totally justified.
All right, next section, Marley the film's conscience. So right when this fantasy of consequence-free power and violence is at its absolute peak, the movie throws a curveball. It brings in a character who is nothing but reality. Amidst all the slapstick and chaos, you have Old Man Marley, who is basically the quiet, painful conscience of the entire film.
The way Marley works as a mirror to Kevin is just brilliant. For Kevin, loneliness is power. It's a temporary fantasy. But for Marley, loneliness is pain. It's a permanent, devastating reality. Kevin's alone for a few days. Marley's been alone for years. You could almost say that Kevin is Marley's past, that moment he broke from his family. And Marley, well, he's Kevin's future, a warning of what happens if that break is never healed.
So through Marley and his whole sad story about his son, the movie finally asks the one question that punctures the entire power fantasy it's built up. It looks you right in the eye and asks, is loneliness really freedom, or is it just regret that hasn't hit you yet? It's this moment of doubt that suggests maybe, just maybe, being alone isn't the goal after all. Maybe it's about connecting with that messy family of yours.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Why? After digging into all these dark themes, the weird consumerism, the brutal violence, why do we love this movie so much? Why do we watch it year after year? Well, the analysis argues it's because it taps into a feeling that is just so deeply human. Because the true conflict here, it's not Kevin versus the burglars. It's a victory against that universal feeling of being ignored. That feeling of nobody takes me seriously. And come on, that's not just a kid thing, is it? We've all felt that. So Kevin's victory feels like our victory. It's a win for every single time we've been overlooked, dismissed, or made to feel small. And maybe that's the best way to think about it. Home Alone isn't an innocent film. It's just not. But it is an honest one. It's honest about the anger that kids feel but can't express. It's honest about how family can sometimes feel more like an obligation than a comfort. And it's really honest about the messy, uncomfortable price you have to pay for power.
In the end, of course, Kevin gets his family back. Everything goes back to normal. His power trip was just temporary. But that wish still hangs in the air. And maybe that's really why we still watch. Because as this analysis suggests, there's a small part of all of us, that part that feels ignored, that's still standing there thinking, one day, let everyone else leave. This time, let me be the one who stays.